Brian, you're so fired. You just threw a dinosaur story up. Come on. It's the whole point of having tech people. Anyway, whatever. Welcome to Crack Movie Club, the show where we do a book club. A book club.
A
A
Mook
book
Club.
club.
Aw, man, I miss Allie.
Yeah. Allie's the glue that holds us. She misses every other episode. I'm your host, Jordan Breeding, and these are books, but better. And this is my co-host, Jesse, and Allie's making money somewhere because we don't make any money on this stupid show. And she's not salaried. So thanks,
Donate
Allie.
to the donate to us so we can get Allie fired from all of her gig work.
We also we also got incorporated all of our various brands into a content owner, and the content owner won't let me monetize the live streams anymore, and I don't know how to change it. So we're doing this for the love of the game mostly. So today we're going to talk about the Robocop.
Robocop.
Wow, that was really good timing, Brian. Excellent work. And if you're new to this, Rob O'Cop, he's Irish and he's violent. Actually, I'm going to talk about that later. I actually do have a connection. Not that he's Irish per se, but that he's Catholic, because I think that's a really interesting part of his character. This is more of a Robocop 2 thing, but it doesn't matter. And if you haven't watched this live stream before, if you haven't interacted with it, typically what we do is whatever stupid shit you say in the comments, Brian will go through and star some of it. And then kind of at the end of the podcast, we'll go through it and we'll make fun of you, or maybe we'll be wowed by your galaxy brained intellect. And also we do alternate titles for the movie. So for example, if you said Cop Robot, that would be a title that would work for this movie, but is not in fact the title of this movie. So I don't think you have any. It's all me. So I'm going to recap this movie and then we're going to get rolling. You ready?
Let's get into it, man. I'm strapped in.
There's a man and his name is Murphy, and he is a new cop assigned to old Detroit, which is some nebulous time in the future dystopian Detroit where crime is so rampant and cops are trying so hard they're getting killed all over the place. And that includes, in fact, Murphy, who goes out there and he gets shot. But it's okay because they bring him back as a robot. But he's still a cop, thus Robocop. And then he goes out there and he shoots a lot of people. And it turns out that the police force. So I don't think the entire police force is privatized, but the Robocop initiative is. And so eventually he realizes that company is bad, so he goes and he kills all of them, and then that's it. The movie ends with everyone being dead and Murphy kind of realizing his humanity, despite I know it's going to be hard to top Murphy's Law. That's why I wrote it down, because it's great. It's an excellent title for this film. Anyway, so that's it. It's a robot cop. He doesn't remember his past, but he slowly gets his humanity back, and he kills a lot of people. It's technically a satire in that way that every Verhoeven movie that's a satire could also just be read as straight fascist. And you're like, yeah, I love fascism. But Jesse, why this? Is this our spiritual prequel to Starship Troopers that you made us watch last time?
Yeah. Well, no. So it's the 35th anniversary of Robocop coming out in theaters is this year. So I thought it'd be really good to revisit it. In general, it's also one of those movies that I'm embarrassed that I've never actually seen start to finish. Never sat down and watched it until now. And it's, so I wanted to see, if it lives up to the hype. I wanted to see, like, it's got the initial hype of, like, oh, this movie fucking rules. It's got all, like, the sort of bad takes. Like you said, like, it's a satire, but then there's also wide swath of people who do take it as, like, yeah, cops are fucking sick, man. And there's also just a lot of hype that it holds up on its 35th anniversary. So I want to see if that was true.
And was it?
I think it did. I really think it did. I can definitely see it being like mind melting when it first came out. And some of it was kind of clunky. Like, man, that stop motion like really took me out of the film.
Sure. Yeah.
But other parts, man, the gore and the violence, like how many seconds in are we? He shoots a guy in the dick through somebody else's vagina, basically.
You already dropped a hard F-bomb, but yeah.
Oh, oops.
But yeah, vagina's gonna get us. We're not monetized anyway, Jesse.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
This stream doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good, because I want to talk about how with like 20 minutes left in the film, they start dropping really hard Fs, like kind of nonstop.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was great. I'm glad I finally watched it. It was hyped perfectly appropriately.
Good. Yeah, I agree. We actually saw it. I saw it for the first time during a snowstorm in a hotel in Maryland while my band was was playing worship music for a bunch of high schoolers.
Hell yeah.
And we couldn't play the music that day, so we sat in the hotel and we were all like, we've never seen Robocop. We should watch Robocop. And so we were in there watching an incredibly violent, but ultimately we were having a lot of fun movie. Yeah, Robo of Nazareth. There we go. That's a great one. We're gonna put that one on there. And yes, Eric Gonzalez points out, and I want to mention that to you. Her vagina is not actually shot.
Sure. Okay, fine. But it was close though.
Jesse knows his way around a lady. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
That's where I'm told is the general vicinity of the vagina.
Yeah, it's just everything within a 3-foot radius of the middle of a woman is considered.
It's a roving. Didn't like awful doctors used to think that the uterus would like wander through the body, and that was something that women could be diagnosed with if they were.
I have heard the term wandering uterus, but I
what it is.
Didn't know what it was other than potentially a metal band name or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I phrase ew. Thank you, Andrew.
This turbine ass hair. I feel like I think this way about Starship Troopers as well, which is another Verhoeven film, which is the same director. I just feel like because it is clearly a satire in some ways, all the stilted 90s and 80s tropey vibes, like the weird stuff, actually is totally fine because it's already not like it's not trying to be a cool, I mean, sort of is, but it's not. Everything is undercut by, I mean, Verhoeven has gone on record to say that his goal was to make the violence so over the top that it was no longer, not that it was no longer cool, but that it wasn't like you're saying, like, hell yeah, cops are cool. Look how they kill people. Because even if it's good that a cop is killing a criminal, you feel a little weird when he shoots him 7,000 times.
Yeah.
Or like, it's just, you're starting to be like, oh, I don't know if I want that for the justice system per se.
Yeah. I wonder how many bullets, how many gunshots it takes for like your average fascist to be like, oh, this is a joke now. Okay. Like the 25th bullet makes you go, wait a minute, this isn't real life. He's trying to make a comment about the policies of the Reagan administration.
Well, it's kind of like the movie, I think it's Predator. There's that scene where they just unleash like 1 million bullets into the trees for no reason. I don't know if you've seen Predator. I have not. But Schwarzenegger just like chain guns a tree. And it was just a way to like add more gunshots into a movie for no apparent reason other than wouldn't it be cool if we just fired a gun? But they couldn't just shoot people because they would go to NC-17, so they just like fired guns just because. And I do think it's funny how they do that in this movie. Like, how many times does Robocop get shot? Like, realistically, I mean, thousands and thousands of times with really no negative repercussions until somebody stabs him with rebar.
Yeah. What's up with that? That's not how body armor works, to my knowledge. Maybe in the far-flung future.
Yeah.
We don't know what year. I say we don't know what year it is, right? Is it in our future or is it in our past?
Ooh, why? Oh, I see what you're saying. I feel like somebody has pointed out what year it is. I bet it's somewhere just because they've made several of them. What year is RoboCop set in? 2028.
2028. Okay, well,
so it's coming. Yeah, here we go. People are already saying it. 2028.
Nice.
2010 says somebody else. So who knows? At some point. There's also a reboot that I've actually wanted to see. It got okay reviews. It's got Joel Kinnaman. I don't know how you say his last name, and he's in a lot of things that I really like him in, like Altered Carbon, or he was in House of Cards for a while. He's always
Oh.
pretty good. He was in Suicide Squad, the good one. I think he was also in the bad one. He was in the bad one. That's okay. You can't win them all. But anyway, I agree. I like the violent stuff. I thought was pretty rad. I love that when a movie is just like, we invented a sniper rifle that causes explosions, and we're just going to shoot buildings, cars.
Yeah,
People.
we invented a sniper rifle that cars are allergic to. It causes them to immediately explode.
The car being 6,000 sucks.
Sucks. Yeah. Dude, the products and the commercials, okay. The commercials in this were really good and really funny, and that was like clear satire, and it absolutely ruled. To the same degree as the criminals were the worst. The criminal characters were also stupid. Like everything from like the insults that they say, like I don't know, like that one guy calls the gas station attendant a bookworm, like that's the worst thing you could be called. Just the way they talk and the way they act and their plans, like even the guy that's like holding people hostage, that's not how he asked for a car.
He's crazy, bro. He
guess
snapped.
So.
He was like the former mayor, right?
Is that what? Oh yeah, because he wanted his job back. Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't thinking super great. I actually really like Red Foreman as a villain.
He was great, actually. Red Foreman was fantastic.
Yeah, one of
except for his death scene, he looked like a doofus, like swinging his arm back, like oh, I've been hit, and, like kind of collapsing into the mud. Yeah, but everything else, he was great.
It was funny that he was very like. I know he wanted the guy to hurry up and drop all the shit on Robocop, but it was funny that he was like, "What are you doing, man? I'm giving up, man. Come on, bro. Don't even do it, bro. It's not fair, dog." So that was a little bit goofy, but
he had big like I want to talk to your manager energy every time that RoboCop would like confront him. He'd just start spilling. It's like I know who your boss is. Like take me to your boss.
Well, he did though.
Yeah, I guess he ultimately did.
Yeah, I do like it's funny because I don't know where we're at. I guess in general police forces are not privatized, unless I'm mistaken on that. But that is always a thing that's mentioned as an option. They're militarized in a lot of places. But this idea we were talking about this beforehand because we're doing an honest ads about it. But prisons are very privatized, and that never seems to necessarily go well. And so it'd be interesting to see what a private police force would look like. Obviously, Verhoeven thinks it's bad, but there is something interesting. We did a video not that long ago talking about how legally cops are not required to protect you if you're under duress. And it makes me wonder, do we need that version of capitalism where it's like, well, if you guys don't save me during a terrorist rampage, then I'm going to go across town to get the Blackwater cops or whatever.
Well, right. Because, I mean, there are like privatized fire departments that have been an absolute disaster. They've allowed homes to burn down because they didn't like pay their tithings on time. And they're like, I'm sorry, you're not on the list.
Yeah, I guess that's how it would actually go.
Yeah.
Is they would just let things happen because they're like,
For sure. So one thing that I thought was super interesting is that he's like RoboCop is basically all powerful, but he's constrained by like technicalities and bureaucracy, right? He's like, I'm gonna do justice, except oh no, I can't like yell at my boss. And he like has that moment where he shakes and falls down and stuff.
Right.
But which is super. I feel like that's like a direct commentary on, the actual constraints of police report, right? Like the good apples are like unable to do good apple things because of the system, man. But I think that another really funny thing would be to see RoboCop completely unwilling or unable to do anything because he's just like, oh no, that sounds dangerous. I'm just gonna stay here and dream.
It's like it's really never cost effective for me to intervene.
Yeah. Like you guys have no idea what my carbon footprint is and how many jars of baby food I have to eat just to get up and drive across town.
Well, to your point, that is actually the premise behind the other robot, right? Like he literally said, this is the ED whatever, which actually may be erectile dysfunction joke, but it's that robot kills one of the members of the company, one of the execs or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And that causes the owner of the company to say, well, we can't use it as is. And so that's when the other guy proposes his Robocop program, because presumably it has a little bit more intelligence functioning. But that guy confronts him in the bathroom, the ED bot, and he's like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? We had a contract for 25 years. And most importantly, we had a contract for 25 years of spare parts. So who cares if it works? Like, that's always kind of the problem with some variations, specifically monopolized, privatized capitalist things, where it's like, why would I make it work? I also sell the parts to fix. And actually, that's a sort of a huge thing in general. And I think Biden actually passed something about this, but like
a right to repair.
Right to repair stuff, where your Mac will break, and it's like, well, only our Apple geniuses from on high can fix it, because if you do, you violated all the laws. I don't care what the problem is. So yeah, I guess that's the whole point of Robocop, is that he's actually willing to put himself in harm's way, and so good for him.
It's funny that it's like the safer option is to have like also a very deadly droid, but it's at least it's being piloted by a brain that had a bullet rattle around in it. Like,
yeah,
he was fully shot in the head. I don't think and I guess it only hit like the part of his brain that remembers his wife and kids. Single kid
who moved on.
Yeah, they left.
I like that. His cop partner is like, look, okay, I'm not going to spell it out for you, but yeah, she got remarried fast. Your son doesn't care about you at all.
Your son already calls him dad.
Yeah. It's like, nobody cares that you could spin your gun. You died. That's actually the lamest thing that you could do. Your son doesn't think you're cool anymore at all.
And also, if you think about it, maybe if you spent more time, like, practicing cop stuff and not gunslinging, maybe you wouldn't have found yourself in the hostage situation.
They did make a good point, weirdly. The cops, not the cops, the criminals did. When he runs in and like tries to arrest everybody in the building, they're like, oh, you must think that you're a great cop, huh? The fact that you think you can literally just run in here. And it is kind of interesting, where you're like, that is a weird thing that he tried to do for no apparent reason. I mean, they did make a point that like, there was no backup. But it is interesting. So this is kind of the same thing with Starship Troopers, right? Where you get into these weird scenarios where you're like, so what is the purpose of this cop being like, I don't have enough backup because the police are underfunded, so I went in and tried to kill everyone and I was slain. Oh no. And yet I rose again, like literally Jesus Christ, as people will probably mention, but he walks on water at the end. I don't know if you caught that imagery.
I didn't catch that. Wow.
I mean,
I saw him. I thought that 10-minute scene where he taught people to fish was like a little overboard, but now I get it.
Yeah. When he broke that piece of bread 5,000
over and over.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's a little on the nose. No, but when at the very, very end, when he kills Red Foreman, he's walking in a puddle, but it's on water.
It appears that he's like on water.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's sort of a Jesus allegory, which actually I want to talk about this, even though it's not in this movie, but I think we can use it to filter it through. So Robocop 2, the whole premise, and correct me for people that have actually seen it, I have not. The general sense is that, okay, so we first Robocop is going great. We should make more Robocops, right? And it turns out that he is the only Robocop possible, because every time they try and convert somebody else, they shoot themselves in the head, or they phase out or whatever, because nobody has the strong moral fiber that Murphy does because of his Catholicism. And then you kind of wonder, surely there's another Catholic in the world somewhere. Is he the Pope?
And what's that say about like Jewish cops? Does it say Jewish cops are bad at copping?
I think they mostly are trying to change, to convert criminals or whatever, because they're like, well, it wipes their personality anyway. Even though Murphy, it literally didn't do that with Murphy. But I think even by the second movie, he kind of comes back. But I just think it's really funny, because that's the problem too with any satirical kind of movie like this. Inevitably, if there's a sequel made, They just lean into the whatever was. They're not doing more subtext. They're like,
right, yeah,
shit exploding, right? Robocop is the best. We need 100 Robocops. But if only there were more moral massacres of thieves or whatever, then society would be fine. It's just funny how that immediately works.
Yeah, a sequel automatically just like plunges the original point into like a vast pool of explosion and guns and blood and stuff. Yeah. Well, that's a bummer. They shouldn't have made all those sequels and stuff.
Well, they did the same thing with Starship Troopers, so I bet it's the same. It's the same kind of thing. So a couple of things I wanted to mention too. So just again with Starship Troopers, Verhoeven clearly loves naked co-ed shower locker scenes.
Dude, I didn't even realize that they were both directed by him at the time. And when I saw that scene, I was like, there's like gratuitous boobies in the locker room of the Tough Guy School or whatever.
What do you think it's trying to, what is he trying to say? Is this a good thing or is that a bad thing? Or is it just like, he's just like, guys, think about how awesome this would be or whatever.
Well, my first thought was like, well, shit, maybe they don't have men's and women's locker rooms in police stations and military compounds. Maybe like this is just normal for them.
But you're creating this world. So what is it like? Is this a bad future where like sexuality is like, what am I?
Sexuality isn't front and center. Like sexuality should be such a huge part of my day that I can't, that I can never be near my naked coworker.
I don't know. Like, it seems like the world is bad, right? And then also as a part of this world, we have naked co-ed locker rooms. And I'm just trying to figure out, it's like, is that the one good part?
Yeah.
Look, it's not all bad.
If some fascist populist would just come along and be like, hey, co-ed locker rooms for everybody, no matter what your career choice, I'd be like, look, man, you got my vote.
Yeah.
That's the future I want.
So
as long as men and women all have the same haircut. When his when his work wife was introduced and she like takes off her helmet after beating up the man, she has the exact same haircut as him and they both like lock eyes.
Literally any movie from the 2000s on, her hair would come swooping out.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be like, oh my God, it's a woman. But in this, it's just like, oh yeah. Okay, it's a woman. Sure, great. But it's not like, again, somebody's pointing this out. Like Stephen Guy says there was nudity, but it was desexualized. And that's totally true.
Yeah,
my only question
speak for yourself, man.
yeah. My only question is why? I mean, it doesn't matter necessarily. Like, I didn't need it to be sexier. I'm just curious what I'm just really pissed that I wasted an hour and 40 minutes watching boobies not treated the way that I want them treated. No, it's just I think it's so interesting to have that just sort of in the background. And yeah, like you're saying, it's not even that it was desexualized, it was not androgynous, but it was closer to just like, they're like, it's same with Starship Troopers in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, we're all in it together. We're just one of the guys. Until they hook up later in Starship Troopers, I guess. And also everybody's in love with everybody. But in this one, it's very much nobody's trying to have sex with anybody unless they're a creepy rapist or a creepy exec, or like the only people that are interested in sex are bad guys.
Yeah, true. That's a really good point. Well, but it also like Murphy and what was the lady cop's name? His partner, his new partner?
I don't know.
Partner cop.
Nancy.
She seemed, Nancy, we'll call her. She seemed like she wanted to have something going on with him. Like when she helps him calibrate his gun. It was like what's that movie where that lady does clay with a ghost?
Oh, is it Ghost?
Is it Ghost? I think it's Ghost. Yeah. So it felt, I should have looked up when that was. I don't know if this was an homage to that or just like how romance kicked off back in the 80s. But yeah, she comes up behind him and very just like carrying.
That was true. But it was also
his pistol.
Yeah. Also, there's some point there. There's some reason that he's shooting little babies in the face.
Baby faces. Yeah.
It's so great. That's the thing that I think is so interesting about it, is there are so many And this is another thing, right? Like 80s satire movies, that is always the trick. They're like, yeah, it's subtext. This is at no point. I mean, some of it's not. The corporate stuff is pretty in your face, but it still feels like, yeah, you're just looking at weird things happening. You're like, I think that's that he thinks that's bad, or there's got to be a reason he's shooting babies in the face. He's like, I'm not hungry, and I may never be again. So why don't I shoot these babies in the face?
What stood out to me is that he said he couldn't do it. It was almost like he couldn't bring himself to whatever shooting babies in the face stands for. I don't know. Maybe it had to be like, well, I actually meant to go back and she does help him, right? I meant to go back and rewatch the part where they introduce the baby formula, because there's got to be some kind of symbolism there. Like I feel like somebody just holds it up and says, this represents something. And but I just forget what that thing is. Somehow is humanity, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe he was struggling to release himself of the last remnants of his humanity.
Well, no, but at that point, I think he's turning back, if anything. I think
I think you're
becoming more human in that moment. Because literally the conversation is like, what happened to my wife? And he's like, well, she's gone. And he's like, damn, I guess I'm going to shoot these babies. I mean, I guess it could still be a struggle. I mean, I do think it represents like the shittiest, worst food you could ever have. Like that's the whole, they're like, all he has to eat is this poop goop or whatever. And then the one guy's like, it's not, I like it.
Yeah, as a member of the adult baby community, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Does Robocop shit and stuff and piss and everything? Does his blood circulate? I guess so.
I think so, because they were making the point that they have to maintain the living parts of him. So that's why he eats, and if he eats, presumably he has to shit. But it is unclear where, because I guess his legs. So they intentionally cut off one of his arms. So one of his arms is blown off regardless. And so they just go ahead and saw off the other arm so that he can have equally strong arms, which honestly makes sense. I don't know if they did that with his legs. Does the suit jerk him off?
Yeah.
Asks cracked.com, which is to say Brian.
That's what he did. Like, he obviously has the ability to like repair himself, right? So you got to imagine he spent a little time, or at least after he, saves the day, he'll go spend some time adding a little tiny robot arm that'll JMO.
Well, it's hard to say, because they make a very clear point that one of the guys that he's going to arrest tries to kick him right in the penis. However, that's a big old metal penis, which is not only it's just the wussiest move you could do. It's just so involved. I feel like to kick a dude in the nuts, it requires something different emotionally, I feel like, than trying to tackle him or run away or punch him in the face, pull out a gun. To be like, okay, wind up, bong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's not as easy as movies would have you think, because pretty much, especially if I'm engaging in battle, I'm like either currently blocking or ready to block my crotch at any second. So it's really, if you're in a fight, it's probably not even that good a move.
I mean, if you could get in there, I mean, go for it. My sister's been taking Krav Maga classes.
Oh, nice.
And most of that is based on just win at all costs, punch the nuts, gouge eyes, just elbows to the throat. Like, it doesn't matter. You have to win. Which I think is not what this guy trained in, though. I mean, he did not go elbows flying. He's just like, yoinks! Like, it's just such a...
Oh, geez, don't touch my scalp. I'm here at the club. I spent so much time with putting my hair together.
Yeah. Anyway.
What a weird thing to enter the club in arrest mode. Just very clearly, just right up on his screen is arrest mode. Like, I don't know. Give yourself 5 minutes to get into boogie down mode or something.
It is interesting, because they make a point early on in the movie that what the city really needs is a 24-hour cop, 24/7 cop. And so that's when they present ED, erectile dysfunction cost. Jason, yes, sort of. The point of any fight is to win at any cost, but Not really. I mean, a lot of martial arts like seem to be built around the idea of defense or not killing the other person, just like ending it as quickly as possible, but like incapacitating and being in control. Krav Maga just seems like, how do I inflict maximum damage?
Just pictured
Anyway,
Jason in a thumb war, just fully going for a crotch shot.
At any cost.
Doing that pointer finger sneak attack thing. Yeah. I don't think so, buddy.
Stomping toes under the table. Yeah. So, but that does raise a question. He does appear to need to sleep, or at least like recharge. Like they put him in the sleepy time chair.
Yeah, when they're like, "Oh, by the way, when you're resting, you should sit." I know we didn't go over sitting in the 5 years that it took to build you, but gonna introduce you to sitting now.
They're like, we've programmed everything about you, but oh my god, I forgot to tell you, that's a chair. Sit. Anyway, I thought, you know, I think it's fun too that they don't really cover. They're not really building out the world that much. They're like, world bad, RoboCop kill. It is interesting that the cops are going on strike, or they're thinking about going on strike.
Yeah.
Really, that's the thing that keeps muddying the waters for me, is like the head cop is like, we can't go on strike because we're supposed to protect people, which no, they don't. But also it's sort of like, okay, so the most recent Saw movie, which is Spiral, which is the 9th Saw movie, which is the 9th Saw movie I've seen because I've seen them all. The whole thing is that the new Jigsaw, who's not Jigsaw, he's just inspired by, his whole thing, I can't even remember what his freaking name. Maybe it's Spiral. He's like a high talking pig guy. He's targeting cops. The only people he's killing are cops, and he's killing corrupt cops. And they're making points about bad cops are no good. And yet Chris Rock is a cop, and his dad, Samuel L. Jackson, is a cop, and they solve the crime and stop the murder. And you kind of get to the end and you're like, so what are you saying? Like, what is the premise? Like, bad cops are bad and good cops are good. Like, I don't understand. That's like all of life. It's just, it's like these confusing, like, what are you trying to say? Like, it's bad for cops to be bad. That's fine. But if you're trying to suggest that it's systemic, I don't necessarily agree that a bad cop should get his fingers pulled off one by one. Like, it's, it's unclear.
Yeah, only a good cop should get his good arm sawed off and replaced with an well, it's not. It's an intro skeleton, but just a metal skeleton.
Yeah, but so it's just like, it's interesting to have. They're like, I don't know what we're presumably talking about the role of modern policing in this movie, and yet a bunch of cops are like, we should go on strike because we're dying too much, and the main guy's like, no, you shouldn't. But also, RoboCop saves the day, and also, even that weird moment where the 3 upset guys pop out, and there's like 400 cops that are about to shoot him. They're like, hey, he's a friendly cop. And they're like, sorry, the orders are to kill him. And they're like, damn it. And then they just walk away. And you're like, what do you want me to? I don't know.
Yeah. It does seem like he was lampooning a lot of stuff. And a lot of it really did work. Like, a lot of stuff, there was, a lot of good points to be made on just like the personal level, and also on the level of like critiquing policing and the militarization of police and stuff like that. There's just a lot of stuff too that, like, pick one thing to focus on if you're going to give me this big budget satire.
Well, that's what I always want. Well, I was reading about it, so just a couple of background things on it that I thought were interesting. So Verhoeven, they sent him the script the first time, and he looked at it. He read one page and was like, "This sucks. I don't want to do this." And then they're like,
"I'd buy that for $1." What the fuck does that mean? No.
And then they sent it to him a second time, and he was like, "This sucks. I don't want to do this." But then his wife read it. It was like, no, it's like a satire, and like he's learning to become human. That's sweet. And he's like, fine. I'll admit I don't really speak English so well, so I'm not picking up on the subtext. So there's also potentially that issue going on. I mean, I'm sure he speaks it's an entirely English film. Like, I don't think he doesn't speak English.
Yeah,
But
I agree, Jordan. Learn English. If you're gonna be working here in England, learn English.
Yeah, hell yeah. But that was one of the things is that one of the writers has directed some stuff. And he was like, I mean, I'll do it. And they said they didn't want to trust him with an $11 million budget because he was inexperienced, which is, higher in 1987 than it is now, but it's not life-changingly high.
It's not, yeah.
It's probably like a $20 million budget, which is, I mean, for a sci-fi movie called Robocop, because that was the other things. They had a lot of trouble with the marketing because they were like, how do we get kids to not think this is like a Transformers movie?
Oh, true. That was, the heyday of Transformers.
Or adults, I guess, specifically. And also, kids weren't allowed to, I mean,
I was gonna say, what was it rated? I forget.
It was rated
R, right?
Yeah, it was definitely rated R, but actually somebody pointed this out and I was going to bring it up. Jack Atkinson was saying, speaking of violence and gore, the movie initially had an X rating because of how bad he got shot up. And actually, that's not what I meant to find. That's not what I meant. Rory Rorschach says that the X-rated version had the proper amount of violence to allow the joke to manifest, but the R-rated version shortened the brutality. So it some of it is literally corporate meddling. Just kind of confusing all of that. So
yeah, what's frustrating is the thought that maybe if they had actually released it as an X-rated movie, there's a good chance it would not have been this giant like cultural touchstone that's lasted 35 years. Like you hate to admit when like the censors or corporations are kind of right when it comes to like they know how to make money, they know how to make stuff that people will go out and spend money on. So sucks.
Yeah, and it is interesting to see just how people were so inspired by it. I mean, I think it's always refreshing to go back and see an older action movie that just didn't have the benefit of CG. And I was just like, damn, they're like blowing up that house and they're freaking blowing up that gas station. I was like,
gas station, yeah.
It looks great. And even to the point where I was like, man, they just blow shit up and they don't even care. Like when that house explodes, they don't linger on it at all. It's just like it explodes and then it cuts like 2 seconds later. And I was like, guys, that was a big explosion. They're like, yeah, okay, all right, we got another explosion. Like the gas station,
we got more coming up.
They milked it. They showed it from like 10 angles and he's like walking through the fire.
Yeah, that slow walk. Yeah.
And it was rad as hell. But there are other equally massive, or at least close to massive explosions that they're just like, yeah, this is what we do. This is an exploding movie. We can't focus on every explosion as opposed to, now every explosion seems to be fake or it doesn't feel weighty in any way. And I don't know. That's why we got to just watch The Raid over and over and over.
Just punches and kicks and some weapons. We don't need. Yeah. By the way, that the bookworm in the gas station, that guy's dead, I guess, right? Sucks.
Well, he grabbed his book and ran.
So he did run. Okay, good.
It's not impossible because they were spraying gas on the window, and he's like, "It seems like this is not going to end."
There was a thing. There was a part where there was like a tube, and pink stuff was coming out of the tube. Was that supposed to be? I thought that was like future gas.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I guess at first it didn't seem like anyone was too upset, so it's like, oh, I guess future gas isn't flammable, and then it was very much so.
Highly. Something happened? Oh, he shot at Robocop, and that's why some bullets ricocheted and caused things to. That was the other thing too. So somebody was mentioning how Peter Weller is great in this role, and he is. I mean, it's like a robot, so maybe not the hardest thing to just be. However, or do you know this about?
No, I don't think so.
He trained with a mime for a long time to get his motions to look sufficiently robotic. I think he does a good job. It is really funny because most action movies don't star a slow ass tank of a dude,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought his movements were like, I'd say they were really good for the 80s. I thought there was a lot of times when it was just like, it felt like, a kid recreating it in his backyard being like, oh, I can't shoot the gun because of because of the rules, like,
yeah.
That one scene was like, he doesn't look like he's acting, which I guess he's acting the whole movie.
Yeah.
But, and it's also funny that like his all he had to do was speak in monotone, and then they gave it that little like robotic filter. Like I'm sure he does a great job, but it actually struck me as like, this is like a weird performance. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like what's a good performance? The most recent Thor movie.
In that?
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I feel like people have been giving that a lot of shit for being like weirdly acted, but anyway, yeah, I thought he was kind of weird to watch actually.
Well, yeah, but I also think that everything feels weird from the 80s now, generally speaking. And like I was saying off the top, like because it's hyper violent satire, like the stilted weirdness of a robot cop who is impervious to bullets is kind of like, I don't know, doesn't really take me out of it. I wasn't going into it. And that's the thing too. So the thing about him becoming a human, I don't care. I wasn't like, oh my God, thank you. That's so great for you, Peter. Like
he doesn't even have a daughter.
I love too that all of his flashbacks involve people running at his face. Like,
yeah.
His wife is like, hey, you're here. I want to have sex with you. And then his son's like, Dad, we're doing a photo.
Yeah, they all have the energy of like a TikTok character, like just being like right up in the screen.
Yeah,
I'm a wife.
Funny. Yeah, I got something to tell you, you big stupid piece. I love you. Oh, their relationship must be fun because that's the thing too, right? Like that's always going to be the trick of like a pure action movie is how do you humanize all of these characters, but ultimately you don't want to actually spend any time on it because nobody cares what her dreams were. I want to see Robocop shoot 300 people, so like you having to find ways to do that really quickly and really cleverly. I think that's actually one of the impressive things about, I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They did such a good job. They had such a huge cast and they gave everybody their own tiny little arcs. And I was like, oh, I'm happy to see that the raccoon has found his family and stuff like that. It's just such a tricky thing to do. And I feel like the easiest way to do it is comedy because it endears you to a character faster because you're like, haha, they made me laugh. I care about this guy now. Instead of being like
my loved ones too.
Yeah, instead of just trying to be like, he was married. Don't you care about love? And you're like, I like jokes.
And honestly, this kid's Halloween costume, not that original.
The devil?
Obviously a store-bought devil. No, he doesn't look cute or whatever. Looks like a dumb little kid. Get him out of here. Honestly, they did Robocop a favor. He can start anew.
Yeah, and I mean, now that Robocop's Jesus, I assume he'll have to hunt his son down and end him. Right?
Is that for what Jesus does? Devil? I guess I never finished the book, but okay, yeah.
Depends on how you're looking at it. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't have any other big things. I thought it was interesting. Not only was one of the bad guys defeated by a metal penis, but his cop lady friend was also defeated by a penis.
How?
So remember they walk into the warehouse and he's like, my dick's out. And she's like, looks at his dick, gets punched in the face.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Like he's literally just watching and waiting to see if she'll look at his penis so that he can punch her, which is ridiculous.
I must have been checking my phone at that point. I honestly don't remember, but it sounds like the, have we talked? Oh, I think we've talked about this, the penis game from the film Waiting. With like Dane Cook and Ryan Reynolds and stuff.
Is that where they like tuck it?
Yeah, they do all. Yeah, they manipulate their genitals and trick their friends into looking at them. Oh, what's up? Thank you, John Burns.
Yeah, I was gonna put this up, but I was waiting for you to finish whatever penis point you had before we. John, thank you for the money because this is not monetized. So now we've made $5 Canadian, which is probably like $1 in real money. Actually, I'm assuming it's Canadian. I don't actually know what it's
California dollars.
California dollars. It's in grapes. John Burns says, I paid good money to see a cyborg ? He does actually explicitly say that he's a cyborg. The vice president says he's a cyborg, you idiot. He recorded you. And you want to see him commit mass murder in a movie? Why are you trying to make him so wholesome? On with the murders. I think that's kind of I agree a little bit. I mean, I don't really agree. I guess it's funny to be like, no, it's satire, so it's fine. But it is like, it is still really cool. So I like it.
Yeah. They also, I'm also kind of glad they didn't go overboard with like the technology, like the interfaces. You know, like at first it was a little bit laughable, like when he like cross references with that database that has like it has stored everybody's like mouth, nose, and eyes separately, and they all show up like a roulette game to like figure out who the bad guy is. That when I first saw that, I thought that was a little bit dumb, but then I was actually glad they didn't like, you know, hire somebody to go make this like perfect like futuristic sci-fi database. Like, no, just let him like shove his weird little middle finger into the USB port and pull up the video. Don't try to explain why that can happen.
Keith Plotz just says he interfaces just like R2D2. I was literally just going to say that. It's like you just have this like built-in thing that just so happens like you have a USB stick for fingers or whatever, and it's like, well, that's fortunate.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the erectile dysfunction bot, when he like falls down the stairs,
that was really funny.
Absolutely hilarious. But like, why did they even program him to be able to like squeal and have a temper tantrum? Right?
Well,
like,
I don't know why that, but I know that they're trying to show that he's like the shittiest robot of all time. Because that's like the guy's whole point. He's like, it's intimidating and it can kill things, but it's effectively useless. It can't go upstairs or downstairs. It'll just kill you for no reason. Brian points out that the Batwing is from Waiting. The Batwing and the goat are ball sack tricks that they reference. The goat is the one where they stuff it between their legs. I don't know what the Batwing is.
I think that you just spread out the sack.
Oh, well, I'm learning a lot.
I believe.
Cool. So I enjoyed it.
But there's also the log. The log is when you just hang your dong out, hang hog, and I think it sounds like that's what happened in this film.
He hung hog, and she didn't think to back up before inspecting it, and she got punched in the face.
Yeah,
as she should.
Let that be a lesson.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I have this long-standing feud, as you know, Jesse, with really everyone letting me put piss in things. In high school,
yeah,
I got an F in a class because I put piss in my video, fake piss, but and then Snapchat has been flagging me for trying to put piss in videos. YouTube flagged me for talking about piss in a video, and Robocop got to do it.
Yeah. Wait, what did they do? When did they like directly reference piss, or they show piss?
No, he piss it. That's the whole thing. She walks up behind him while he's peeing.
Oh, while he's pissing. Okay, right.
And his penis is out, and it's just like, why can't I do that?
Well, let's put that in the thumbnail for this particular video.
Oh, because it's already demonetized.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, shit.
Piss club.
I'm gonna just have just tons. It's just gonna be piss. It's just gonna be liquid piss. Hell yeah. I don't even
liquid
care.
Gold, man.
Joe Avrig points out that I have the same obsession as Tom Hanks from The Green Mile. I just want to piss, but nobody will let me piss until a big, strong man touches my penis with his magic hands.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is really all I've ever wanted. Just in general.
There's also a thing in Waiting, in the film Waiting. One of the guys can't piss when people are around. Yeah, he can't piss at work.
How come they can do it? I can't put piss in anything. I think pee is funny. It's so benign. Who cares?
I don't find it sexual either. It's benign to me too.
All right, Donald Trump. All right, so we're gonna throw this to the unwashed masses, unless you've got anything else that you wanted to hit.
I think that's all my main points.
I was thinking I might pee on camera when we're done with this, just to get it out of my system. Both
do it, man.
And figuratively. Keith points out again, Scary Movie 3, the aliens piss through their fingers. It's like, what am I doing? Why can't my piss? Anyway, doesn't matter. Keith points out that he thought it was Rob who became an O-cop. That's actually not true.
What's an O-cop?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Paul Verhoeven may have overestimated Americans' ability to get social critiques, says
Dude,
Stephen Guy.
I want to say that's actually a really good way to put this, because I've had this like weird little thing pops up in my brain anytime people talk like condescendingly about media literacy. Like, yes, I think media literacy is important, and like it does need to be like discussed and maybe even taught in schools, who knows. But like when people get mad at people for thinking like Walter White is the good guy or something to aspire to, or think like, oh, Robocop makes me think that cops fucking rule, like you can't just I don't know. How did Stephen put it? You overestimate Americans' ability to get social critique. Yeah. Like media literacy isn't something you're born with. Like if America just sees a robot cop and says, yeah, cops, well, then you have to take that into consideration when you're making your media. Anyway, I'm on
No,
your side, Stephen.
I generally agree. I think this is going to sound like the most Puritan idea in the whole world, but there was and I don't agree with it, but I think it's really interesting. So there was so again, my band played a lot of like youth camps and churches and stuff back in the day. And we went to one college to play. And their one rule was that you were not allowed to use drums because drums are so emotionally affecting that they can get you excited and create a false emotional resonance that may or may not be legit. So like you might be feeling emotions, like elated emotions or whatever, that are not actually coming from an actual spiritual experience. And so they don't want people to be falsely drawn into it solely because of, man, how sick are drums? And like,
super
whatever,
interesting.
it's weird, but I get your point where like you're watching Breaking Bad and they're like, it's an audio visual medium, and there is stuff that they're doing to make you think it's rad. Like
Dude,
your monkey brain is like, damn, if I had the power of a handgun, well, shit, I'd be a badass. Look how rad the big sound and the blood, man. There's something just innate that's making my adrenaline spike, and so it is unfair to just.
Yeah, you can't just be like, hey, man, I'm just telling a story, and if you didn't get it, that's your fault. It's like, no, man, you know what you're doing.
Well, and that's the other part of it. That's the interesting issue, too, is you actually have to not be invested in the thing, usually, to get a critique of it. So, like, if you're just experiencing the thing as it's happening, of course you're not noticing satire. If you're just invested in the story that's being told, usually you have to take a step back. And ironically, this is the thing that I am going to be preaching to my kids. But like, hey, this shit is trying to get you to watch. Like, that's really all it cares. So we need to take a step back and be like, why did we like this? Was it because you also want to sling meth? Because that's not a feeling I want you to walk away with. And so, anyway, if you're just sitting in the theater and the boobs and the explosions are happening to you, yeah, you're not going to be like observing the satire. You actually have to have some distance to that, and then you're not as invested. You're not having as much fun, or you're not interacting in the same way. Anyway,
sure. Well, there's like a very modern, very recent thing that touches on all that. That like, was it like one of the the creator of The Boys recently came out and was like, yeah, how did you not know that Homelander is Donald Trump? He's like a direct Trump parody, because people he came out and said that, and a bunch of like conservatives are like, hey, wait a minute, you're painting him in a bad light. And he's like, what do you fucking mean? This is obvious. So yeah, it's like, it's a cool show, and if you're wrapped up in it, you don't realize what it's trying to tell you.
Well, and they, also omitted, I'm not becoming pissed. I'm just talking
Jordan
about life.
is become piss.
Oh, I get it. That's the joke, because I love piss. You're right. I love the piss. Gimme, yummy. I think, even The Boys often will have brief asides to say, hey, Homelander had a really bad childhood. He's really lonely. He's actually pretty sad. With great power comes great, horny sadness. And so even in that, because it's more interesting that way, right? Like real life is more nuanced, but in a freaking movie where you're not going to meet Homelander and talk to him and like interact and be like, I think overall net bad. You could be swayed by that shit. Anyway. And now I've pissed all over myself. Also, it popped up. An O cop is an orgasm cop, in case you're wondering.
Oh, good. Nice. I like that.
Remember, it takes place in 6 years in Detroit. We did cover that. Did I see the Toxic Avenger films? No. Did you? I don't even know what that is. What if RoboCop was designed strictly for paperwork? There's actually something interesting in that where it's like, surely that's a thing that probably bogs everything down, is like doing that. And also people like cheat on it. I mean, that's one of the problems that we get a lot, where like cops are not entirely forthcoming about all the details of a case. So if there's like a impartial robot cop who's like, that's actually not what happened, and he's just like has all the notes, I think that's great. Greenlit. RoboCop versus System Man.
I think that popped up. Keith, I think, said that when we were talking about fighting the system and good cops trying to be good cops within a bad system.
RoboCop versus Judge Dredd, who has the worst dystopia. Freaking Judge Dredd does. They live in mega cities with like millions of people in like an apartment complex. It's awful. It's the crime is so much worse. What are you talking about? RoboCop is fine. Neil Stephenson's novel Snow Crash features a world with privatized police and privatized infrastructure. That's correct.
Subscription highways.
This year, part of my goal for the year was to read a bunch of classic sci-fi books, and I read, my first one was Snow Crash. And what's really interesting about that is, well, the privatized police is interesting, but it's actually like every section of America is like privatized enclaves. So you're going into like mafia pizza joints, and like you're constantly crossing borders all the time. Anyway, it's a good book. It's a little hard to read in some ways. Murphy, family man, good partner, son of God. Hell yeah. So Jacob points out that they use criminals in the second film as opposed to more Catholics because they think they'll be easier to control and manipulate, and also they have less rights or something. In this dystopian society, Jacob points out, except that actually in our current society, the 13th Amendment actually has a stipulation that says slavery is legal if you are incarcerated. So it's still bad. It's bad now too. So I actually, that makes a lot of sense. You can't just grab a Catholic and make him a robot cop.
I like the idea of using like white collar criminals to go be cops. Just like an overweight, middle-aged, tax guy.
Yeah, well, they're cutting
in his haptic suit.
Well, they're cutting his arms and his legs off, so who cares?
That's true, yeah.
Jason Himmler points out the TV head that I'd buy that for $1 with the bare boobs, so we're supposed to think that that's regular local television. I guess that's true.
I didn't see the boob.
So that would suggest that the desexualization is a bad thing because it's just everywhere and nobody cares anymore, as opposed to like maybe a more idyllic, pure view of sex, I guess. So it does seem to suggest that it's bad, that nudity is everywhere, and that's why society is bad. Malice LP is clarifying that he has some internal organs, his face, majority of his skull, and his spinal cord, but that's about it. The rest is robot parts. Well, there has to be a couple other parts because he has to eat something, but sure.
Yeah,
I guess.
Organs.
Internal organs. Yeah.
I still think he has a regular human wiener, and I think that when he got kicked in the crotch, he had a cup, or
a metal condom on
like a big
all times, condom, just in case. John Burns points out that he was a bad cop who died for all of cop sins. So when he comes back, he's Jesus cop. He's a good cop. Wow, that's really. So now all cops can be redeemed if only they believe in RoboCop.
Jesus did forget his wife and kid. If the Dan Brown novels are to be believed.
Oh, Dan Brown. Yeah, that too. The actor that got shot so many times in that Ed scene, or the ED 209 scene, that he ended up with actual injuries. I believe it. Dude was shot a lot of squibs. Oh, we gotta crank through these. You guys aren't kids of the 80s. You are meddling in affairs you know nothing about, says YouTuber.
I had a solid 4 years in the 80s, man. I remember, I don't know, maybe like Velcro sneakers. That's about it.
I was born during the peak of the Gulf War, the first one, baby.
Oh, congrats.
I brought it to a close with my birth, the one that they had foretold. Omitted points out that he's just my side Borg, not his main Borg. His Borg on main. I can't piss. Oh, there you go. Can't piss on camera until I explain all the Robocop stuff.
That's really good.
And then at the end, it's just like fire hose of piss. That's great. It's great listening to Bryan Cranston talk about the character and how he went out of his way to portray him as a fucking loser and asshat, says Joe Avrig. Well, he did a pretty good job.
He mostly fucked up because I idolized that man, so it's not my fault.
He mostly sucked.
Definitely at the end. I just finished rewatching. At the end, he was a real piece of shit.
Okay, so Joe is clarifying that Murphy doesn't survive because he's moral. He just won't kill himself because he's Catholic. Okay. Oh my God. RoboCop was released in Boston theaters as RoboCop. Thank you for tagging that, Brian. That was really. Eating keeps him sane by allowing him human functions. I guess that's true.
I'd probably lose it if I couldn't ever shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't piss. Nobody will let me. All right, one more. Who's the better robot, Jesus, Optimus Prime or RoboCop? Oh, and it's big titties again. Hey,
they're back.
Probably RoboCop.
Robot Jesus. Is Optimus Prime a cop? Oh no, that's not part of the question. Robot Jesus. It's a good question.
I don't know. I don't give a shit about Optimus Prime. Sorry. All right. We're gonna do alt titles because we gotta
Let's do it.
Gotta wrap this up. Obviously I got Murphy's Law, and feel free to, if you have an alternate title for this movie, just throw it in the chat and Brian will tag it. So Murphy's Law, Iron Butt.
Yeah.
I do love that scene where he's like, hey man, I had a boss too, and like I used to say bad stuff too. Used to call him Iron Butt.
Iron Butt. Yeah.
Used to call him Boner. One time I even called him asshole. And you're like, there's a Homestar Runner sketch about I honestly don't remember what the premise was, but at some point they're trying to convince a character to cuss. And he's like, I've been known to drop a cuss, Dapper Biscuits. And everybody laughs at him. And he's like, well, damn it. Well, I guess he doesn't say that because it's Homestar Runner. He's like, I'm going to go home and get teen pregnant. They're all like, wow. Anyway, so there's that. There are other ones like I'd buy that for $1, but that's too easy. My other one is Red Dead.
Yay. I guess he never gets redeemed.
Well, Red Dead, very good. I guess RoboCop does. So Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
What you got?
I love anything. Let's see. Wait, where are they? Are they in old Detroit or are they in new Detroit? I feel like it's some sort of.
I think old Detroit is distinct from the future Detroit that they're going to build.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say hog hanging in old Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah,
we're gonna use that one.
Cop mouth. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about is how one of the bad guys immediately recognizes him just from his mouth, right? Because he's got the rest of him is masked up, which is so. Well, but it's so funny that like Batman, for one example, always gets away without being recognized when that exact portion of his face is always visible. I respect that this movie is like, yeah, we can tell by people's fucking mouths who they are.
Well, but he also says, I'll take you in alive or dead. Like that's his catchphrase. I think that's what tips. You're talking about that's what
tips like the redhead guy that keeps on getting shit on. Yeah.
That's what tips him off. He's like, wait, nobody ever wants to take me in alive or dead. I know you. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, guns. That's something Red Foreman says at one point. Forget the context.
I wrote that down, yeah. But then I deleted it because I didn't think it was good enough, but I'm glad you did it.
It'll be good in print. It'll look better. Okay, ready? This one's going to win. When people jerk me off, I kill them.
Yeah, right. Let me write that down. When people
jerk Jesse off. He kills him.
Great. So now we're gonna throw it to the right. He recognized his voice and what he said. Adam Fink agrees with me.
Okay, that's fine.
And the actual line,
his voice, but he's still talking like a different guy, and B with a robotic thing to it. So I still don't buy the voice thing. Anyway.
Well, let's start with John Burns here. He says, "Iron Boner cannot pee." That's a good title.
I like that you're advocating for yourself. It's a good pitch. Very confident pitch.
I appreciate your proactiveness. All right. $1 billion bastard.
Nice.
Pretty good. It's like the $1 billion man, but he's a bastard. Gonna be hard to top Murphy's Law. I agree, Stephen. Robo of Nazareth. Oops. I forgot to promote this on Facebook. Oh, that's okay. Robo of Nazareth is good.
Good.
I honestly almost feel like you could just do Robocop of Nazareth, but Cop Jesus.
Cop Jesus. Nice. That's fun.
The best Gerber baby food ad ever. That's true.
Future fascism brought to you by Gerber.
Bitches leave.
Which
is what Red Foreman says when he walks in.
That was very good.
I thought it was pretty funny. Robocop, how the Irish took over Detroit. It's the sequel to The Irishman. They have to de-age Murphy or whatever. Buzz Lightyear back to the hood.
Jeez.
Excellent. I don't know why Brian keeps tagging this. We already said it. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Go away. All right. Oh, sequels for side characters. The fuck me guy robbing the convenience store.
Oh yeah, that was another dumb thing that like criminals don't do. They don't just say "fuck me" over and over.
It's a satire of something.
Sure,
don't worry about it. That scene was really interesting because that's another thing that they could have hit more, which is like Robocop saves the day, but the store is so trashed because he doesn't like do anything. He just waits for him to fire 7,000 rounds and then throws them into like the milk case or whatever. And it's like, dude,
yeah, he never apprehends. He only like incapacitates. He never like brings it back to the station. He's always like, all right, I got to go break somebody else's neck now.
Yeah, he's like, you're under arrest. Cardiac arrest. You're dead. I won. Ooh, you're under cardiac arrest. I'll write that down.
Nice.
I won't use it, but I like to feel good about things. So let's wrap this up. You ready?
Wrap them up. Let's do it.
So I'm going to start because I never start. You can find me at _J_breeding on the Twitters, and I'm on YouTube, both here at Cracked, and I might have a secret channel that only has one video from when I was 15 on it, maybe. And where can we find you, Jesse?
Oh, you're gonna want to check me out on Twitter at Eisemann. You can see it right there, but it's spelled Eisemann.
And we are live streaming every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, if you haven't noticed that. And next week, we are covering Jordan Peele's Nope. I think I'm going to go see it tonight because I want to see it. I thought I was going to see it with you guys, but based on the way that all you New Yorkers' schedules work, I have no faith that you'll both be free and available at the same time to go watch.
Yeah, we keep on getting work.
Yeah, you guys are booking, bro. And yeah, just subscribe to us on the Spotify's and the Apple Podcasts and the YouTubes. Just we do this for you. We're not even freaking monetized. Except now we are. Yeah. John Burns gave us another $5 Canadian to
now we are.
Red Foreman's wife plays the secretary he hits on. That is actually an excellent fact. What does he say? He's like, you think you could fit me in?
Yeah, he's like, after this, I'm free. You think you could fit me in?
Mm-hmm. I love it. Do a Serbian film. All right, Jason, you have 10 seconds to suggest a Serbian film. Oh, Snatch is so good, by the way.
Never seen it.
Oh, Snatch rocks. Ooh, Guy Ritchie in general is somebody that we should cover. Have you seen any Guy Ritchie movies?
I don't think so. I don't know. Name a couple.
He did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, The Gentleman, Rock and Rolla. He also did like the new Sherlock Holmes movies. Oh, is a Serbian film a movie? Oh, it is. Oh, that's weird. It's a horror movie, and it's also a Serbian horror movie. Wow, they sound really creative over there. That's a really big. Really looks really good. LA Confidential is great. There's a lot of good ones here, but send them to we put a link, and I'll put another link after this, but just click on the link and send it to us. Thank you all for watching so much. It's fun. Thank you for the comments. They're goofy. I got a private chat from Brian that says they fuck a baby in it. It's awful. Yeah. Well, maybe I don't want to watch a Serbian film.
Who made us watch Titane, says that this movie is a little bit too... Well, okay, that is pretty gross, yeah. I don't want to besmirch Titane by comparing it to that.
Everything I'm seeing says that I'm not going to watch that, but thank you for the suggestion. Good night. Come back next week. We're watching Nope with Jordan Peele. I mean, not with...
And Allie Gordon. With Jordan Peele and Allie Gordon.
Yeah, the big two.